As the world becomes bombarded with a load of threats such as the COVID-19 pandemic, territorial threats, and the continuous dwindling of resources among others, we are continuously seeing many economies go through the arduous challenge of trying to keep the financial health of their nation stable. The United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs reports that only a few countries in some regions of Asia have yet to introduce and implement stricter policies with respect to their monetary regulations in order to provide some sort of resolution for all the problems that are deliberately aimed at the destabilization of prices in the market. While many countries have resorted to establishing higher interest rates in order to forestall the consequences of this economic dilemma, no definitive sign of recovery is still harvested from doing so. It has become apparent, according to the United Nations, that we might be on our way to experiencing yet another episode of economic recession, even when the last one happened just recently. Where does Bitcoin stand in all of this? Should we feel threatened as investors? This is Diversified Streams, your go-to YouTube channel for all things crypto. If you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest news and tips related to crypto, and make sure to keep your notifications on so you'll be updated with our latest videos. We post frequently so you wouldn't want to miss it. In today's video, we are bringing Bitcoin out of its industry and trying to look at what is in store for us by looking at the big picture. The current events transpiring in today's society. How will it affect the status of Bitcoin as one of the rising alternatives for the currencies that we use today? Is it still a good time to be investing? We are going to be answering that as guided by one of the respected crypto gurus today, Lyn Alden. Before we get to the answer, I think it is important to first look into the behavior of the market in the event of a recession. As what some of you might know or expect, stock prices are typically expected to drop during a recession, coupled with the fact that the market itself is highly volatile and the prices of assets can change almost instantaneously. Investors are also expected to develop a deeper sense of awareness of how they will be making their next move, whether they are already existing investors or newbies. While stock prices declining in times of a recession is always expected, people still want to know the overall state of Bitcoin and crypto in general will change. After all, it is not only the price of stocks that we use as determinants in making decisions. Advocate for Bitcoin and the crypto guru Lyn Alden has some interesting points that he shared, so let's talk about each of them. Alden prefaces his talk by telling us that we had recession back in 2020, and as expected, Bitcoin did not perform well. In fact, it did terribly. It collapsed the same way many assets did during that time, and we were lucky that it was able to bounce back and recover. Looking at it in terms of PMI cycles, which are rising and falling, we can look at the performance of Bitcoin whenever the economy is accelerated or decelerated. From this point of view, we can determine how Bitcoin performs in certain conditions. The behavior of Bitcoin is directly proportional to the economic growth, which means that if it is accelerating, Bitcoin performs well. If it isn't, which means it is decelerating, Bitcoin underperforms. From this correlation, we see that during the early stages of the recession, Bitcoin struggled. And if we are to once again see this happen, it does not go out of the stream of possibilities for the same behavior to occur. We also have the global liquidity to consider, and this is where we look at the money supply and the global M2. When we try to translate the behavior to dollars, which is the unofficial currency used in funding all over the world in terms of international trade, we can see two things unravel, which might be significant for our investments. The first thing or variable we ought to see is the expansion of the money supply. How much and how frequent is money being printed? And relating it to the global currency, which is dollars, how strong is the relationship between your local currency and the dollar? So, if in doing so you see that the money supply in dollars goes up, it signifies that Bitcoin is doing well. If the opposite behavior is seen, then that means that Bitcoin is struggling. Same directly proportional behavior. So, in all this discussion about liquidity, you can picture that at first, Bitcoin will show signs of struggling because of the harsh conditions. But as we see the bottoming out of liquidity in the later parts of the recession, we can also see Bitcoin recovering and bouncing back pretty well. That is only some of the points Lyn Alden has given us. But I want to know, do you share the same sentiments with Lyn? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, it would be much appreciated if you can hit that like and subscribe button, so you will be a part of the crypto community here at Diversified Streams. So Lyn Alden, in a nutshell, tells us that if the economy is boosting, Bitcoin is also expected to flourish. Right now, we are seeing Bitcoin valued somewhere between 22,000 to 23,000, and this is still despite the inflation rates that we have now. This tells us that it might be possible that the risks are substantial at this period of investing. It is still highly encouraged to buy Bitcoin. This is not something we are seeing only now, because we've seen some large crypto assets being formed in the middle of a financial crisis when people are severely affected by the issues targeted at the conventional financial system. We can look at the case of Venezuela in 2018, when it had a whopping inflation rate of 929,790%, and it was expected to scale even higher, but it shockingly dropped to 1,500% in 2021. You can just imagine how ridiculous the prices are given those rates. And it does not even guarantee that currently established monetary policies can safeguard you from it. Still, as advised by many, you can definitely invest in Bitcoin for a more secure way of earning gains even though you are in the middle of a recession. A recession is only one of the many threats that can potentially harm investors. As such, it is important that we are equipped with the right tools that will help us protect our resources. An IRA or individual retirement account is one way for us to keep our resources safe, as it allows for the saving of assets in a more tax-advantaged manner, all while having security with our financial resources. Most IRAs have the same structure and policies in terms of stocks and bonds, and while you can select any of the available ones in the market, I'd like to share with you something that is much more worth your money. iTrust Capital is an IRA that gives you the privilege to enjoy the many benefits of having a tax-advantaged retirement account, and it is for all the right reasons. Aside from the usual benefits of the conventional IRAs that we know today, iTrust gives its user the chance to know and be aware of some of the biggest cryptocurrencies in the market today, such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, and Solana. Aside from that, you can also trade and sell your assets and acquire gains that are completely tax-free. iTrust is also secure, as it is backed by a $320 million insurance under Coinbase. So you are definitely sure that your retirement savings are well kept and free from any forms of theft. If you are one of the many people who love crypto and will most likely adopt it full-time, using iTrust is the way to safely go about it. The best part of all of this is that it has very minimal fees compared to other IRAs, so you are spending a lot less in order to get so much more. If you want to be a part of the millions of people who have been using iTrust and changing their lives for the better, click on the link in the description box to sign up for an account. For a limited time, they are offering a $100 credit after funding your IRA to your account for using our link. And that wraps up today's video. I hope you are now aware of what awaits Bitcoin and how it will play out given the circumstances we have today. Do you think that Lyn Alden's thoughts are believable in today's situation? Are you still going to invest in Bitcoin despite the external conditions? Let us know in the comments down below. And while you're at it, give us a like and subscribe to be a part of our fast-growing community. This has been Diversified Streams. Goodbye and see you in our next video.